Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Finovate podcast. We are continuing our conversations with FinovateSpring Best of Show winners. And joining me today, we have Nate Gibbons, the Chief Experience Officer of QuickFi. Nate, thanks so much for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Greg.
So as is the case with all the companies that we've been talking to, you can find QuickFi's demo video on Finovate.com. You can also see them on Finovate's YouTube channel for the full 7 minutes in terms of what they presented there in front of the audience. But for people who haven't seen your demo yet, Nate, can you start with just a quick overview of your background and what QuickFi is all about?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So I'm one of the founders of QuickFi. And in terms of background, I sort of tripped and fell into the commercial equipment finance industry when I graduated from college with a Spanish degree and no idea what I was going to do with it. So I worked for a company called First American, a company with phenomenal leadership who was kind enough to take a chance on a young man who knew absolutely nothing about business or finance. And as it turns out, this is exactly where I was meant to be. In fact, one of the founders of First American, as well as some of the leaders, are the very individuals that I'm fortunate to be able to partner with to build QuickFi. So to give more context about QuickFi, it's a business financing platform that really is meant to serve banks and manufacturers. It enables them to offer their business customers a secure, completely digital way of applying for and consummating low-rate term loans in a matter of minutes instead of days or weeks. Because the platform is 100% digital and it's self-service, it really allows banks and manufacturers to close more loans and more sales faster and much more cost effectively. In fact, the platform cost is literally a fraction of the cost of the traditional delivery model. So it allows these types of institutions to really fast forward their organizations to offering financing in a way that's consistent with where technology is and, more importantly, where customer preferences are, without necessarily investing years or millions of dollars to get there.
So any parents out there whose kids are saying, I'm going to go become a Spanish major in college, you now have an example of exactly what you can do with that degree. I spent a little bit of time while you were speaking trying to think of something to say in Spanish, but I'm not going to give it a try. My Spanish is not that good.
Well, I don't know that my path was the model one to take, so I don't know that I'd recommend it. I was very fortunate for sure, but it did pay off.
So when I look at the QuickFi demo, I think one of the things that really struck me was how many different types of technologies you're using throughout that process. I mean, it's an end-to-end process. There's a lot of different pieces that you have to try and square away. Can you give us some insight into all of the different tech that was going on in the background of that demo, which made it so easy to understand from an audience perspective?
Sure. I think, to appreciate just how significant it is, it's important to understand what's involved in the loan origination process, because there are a lot of apps out there that you can use to apply for a loan. And there are a lot of apps that can be used as a payment calculator. One of the things that's unique about QuickFi is that it encompasses the entire loan origination process, which includes application, credit underwriting, onboarding, contract structuring, signing the contract, payment disbursement, and even monthly billing. And it's set up in a way to where customers can start and complete every one of those stages of the process without waiting for the lending institution, the bank, or the finance company to let them move to the next step in the process. Many of the platforms that are out there only constitute a small portion of that process. And then once the customer finishes that portion, there's usually a waiting period. So we've tried to be creative in designing our platform in a way that eliminates the waiting and allows business borrowers to start and finish the process with no interruption. Every one of those steps that I mentioned are 100% digital, and they're self-service, which means, again, business borrowers can start and fully complete the entire financing process with no interruption, no waiting for credit approval, no waiting for a department to prepare and deliver loan paperwork. To give some examples of the technology, for the onboarding process, we're using identity verification technology that looks at and scans the individual's license to verify that it's an authentic document based on the unique rules and criteria in all 50 states. It then has a live facial scan that compares the individual who's using the app at the time to the individual who's captured on that license or passport. For the credit underwriting, we have an automated scoring engine that leverages data, data sources, and APIs to automatically and instantly render credit approval decisions. The technology then performs layers of both business and individual verification, including biometrics, including business fraud detection, and several others. The equipment supplier invoice, when we're financing business equipment, that invoice is interpreted and read using AI and machine learning. The digital contract, which is generated instantly real time, is done so based on the term and structure selections that the customer makes while they're in the QuickFi mobile app. So we've even added in a blockchain component where the contract is recorded on a private blockchain with a hash on the Ethereum. So we've really tried to challenge ourselves to use emerging technologies in a way that simplifies the customer experience while also allowing all of the important work that happens behind the scenes: fraud detection, contract creation, credit underwriting, billing and collecting. It allows all those other behind the scenes things to be fully automated. And it's the digital self-service format in concert with quite a bit of automation that allows the finance process to be completed in literally a matter of minutes instead of days or weeks under the kind of the legacy model. And it's also that same format that that allows the banks and manufacturers to eliminate the time and costs that would be required by their departments performing all the tasks that I mentioned manually instead of in an automated fashion.
Yeah, no, certainly there's so many different pieces there. And you get a sense of how difficult kind of the end-to-end loan processing piece is. There used to be people in the fintech space who would kind of make fun of, and I was in this group myself, the digital lending types of products where you go online, you fill out everything, and then the end result is like, okay, great, now print this out and bring it into a branch, right? And so this is sort of, now it's nice to see us kind of moving past that point. One question that I was really curious about, can you talk about the decision to kind of target equipment sales? What about that market really makes it right for QuickFi?
Our team is very familiar with the commercial equipment lending industry. The company that I mentioned earlier, First American, was an equipment, it is an equipment leasing company. It was founded by Bill Verhelli, who's the CEO of QuickFi. That company, First American, was established in 1994, and it's currently the financing division and does all of the US equipment financing for Royal Bank of Canada. So our experience in this space has made us aware of what the finance process feels like for most business borrowers and for the banks and manufacturers that offer the financing. We know that the traditional process is not secure. We know that it's very, very slow, and we know that it's unnecessarily burdensome. So for us, I think what makes the market the right fit is that we can empathize with this segment more than we can with any other segment. But we also knew enough about this particular space, and we knew enough about evolving customer expectations and the technology that was evolving to really believe that we could do something about it, to really feel a sense of responsibility to make some changes for the better in this space that we had quite a bit of familiarity with. So, we're also aware of the size of the market. I mean, the equipment financing industry in the US is a $1 trillion industry. And unfortunately, there are a lot of businesses, literally millions of businesses, who are unable to grow at the rate that they want to because of how slow and antiquated the equipment financing process is. So we built QuickFi with all of these things in mind, and we chose this market because we just saw a unique opportunity and a sense of responsibility to change it.
Yeah, so I think this kind of begs the question, what kinds of equipment are we talking about here? Because I think this is something that a lot of people in the fintech space might not have a lot of insight into. When you hear about this, you think, well, how big of an industry is that? $1 trillion? How do you get there? What kinds of equipment are we really talking about?
Yeah, it's a fair question. The types are pretty broad. So it can be anything from office equipment, computers, or office furniture. It could be large construction equipment or manufacturing equipment. It could be large major healthcare equipment, MRIs, X-ray machines, those sorts of things. So the range is pretty broad. Our experience covers just about everything that you can imagine, anything, again, from small office items, even to large, to large aircraft, that we've had prior experience with. So the range is pretty broad, and those are some of the things that constitute this massive $1 trillion industry that we're talking about.
Yeah, I think one way that you were talking before we push record here that you can kind of conceptualize is anytime you see large pieces of machinery around, which I think all of us do on a daily basis, whether it's construction equipment, whether it's, train cars, things along these lines, these are all huge, expensive pieces of equipment that need to be financed. Very few companies are in a position where they can absorb, buying a plane or buying a new backhoe or whatever the case may be. And so you see where this is such a crucial piece. One other question that I had too is where else could you apply this technology? Because once it seems like you've done a lot of work on creating this lending process, which is really smooth and really kind of consumer focused. Are there other areas that you're looking at outside of this kind of business equipment financing area that you think you might look at next?
There have been a few areas that have been on our radar, some of which have been brought to our attention through some of our partners, some of our manufacturer partners who have been very pleased with the process and are eager for us to kind of migrate into other areas. We do think that the different components of the model could have applications in several adjacent and even in some unrelated industries. We know that many companies right now are looking for ways to make identity verification easier and more secure. We know that there are a lot of organizations that are looking for ways to make credit adjudication and contract generation automated. So just by isolating certain elements of the overall process and the overall platform, we've already become aware of ways that may apply to other segments, other industries. But one example of a space that we've already gotten into is e-commerce. Again, this has been an area that's really been approached heavily in the consumer space. There's a lot of products out there in the consumer side, but not as much in the commercial business side. But some of our partners, we have a handful of global manufacturing partners who are very, very excited about the ways in which now their business customers can shop for their products online. And when they go to check out, they can choose a financing option that they can start and finish literally in a matter of minutes. So I'm sure there are other areas that we'll find ourselves invested in and kind of dabbling in, especially as technology continues to just create new possibilities. But we'll make sure that we keep you posted. So stay tuned.
Yeah, and I expect to see more big things from you on the Finovate stage before too long, basically with all the opportunity that you've got in front of you. And I think it's that crucial start and finish piece of it that is really unique. One of the other pieces, which we haven't really talked about yet, but there is an element of, for anybody who's looking at improving equality and reducing discrimination, there's an element of that in this product as well. Can you talk about how QuickFi is able to kind of reduce bias and discrimination in lending?
Yeah, sure. This is one that really is something that we're excited about. So our credit underwriting and our onboarding process are completely data-driven, and they're set up in a way that allows financing to be offered in a completely unbiased manner for credit-worthy businesses. Studies have actually shown that this type of algorithmic decision-making significantly reduces discrimination and practices like redlining, for example, where lenders might deny loans based on the racial characteristics of the applicant's neighborhood. So the idea of making business financing more accessible, including to underrepresented groups, is something that really adds a lot of purpose to what we're doing. And it's something that our employees have really subscribed to. So hopefully this is something that will serve as a catalyst to make the world a little bit better and to affect positive change. So it is something that we've really latched onto and have really been intentional about. And we're really thrilled to be able to help other organizations achieve the same results.
Yeah, and I mean, that's such a big deal. And I think it's one of those pieces too, where people look at, how fintech can improve the quality of lives for people. And this is definitely an area where, machines, quite frankly, are better able to make decisions for rational reasons than human beings are. And they're able to, as long as you feed good data into them, that artificial intelligence can give you a good result out of it. So
that's right.
That's, I think, a really crucial piece. We've got time for one more question here. And, we talked a little bit about this already, but I think it's easy to see why banks banks would be interested in this technology, and again, that's kind of who your demo resonated with in the FinovateSpring room, what kinds of feedback have you gotten from manufacturers or the companies who are buying from those manufacturers? I mean, I would imagine that you're getting some interesting responses from those two groups as well.
Yeah, that's right. We've been very, very fortunate. We've received quite a bit of interest from several global manufacturers. In fact, many of our current partners using the platform right now are global manufacturers. To be honest with you, we've always believed in the model and in the platform. We always believed that it could really be a game changer, but I don't think any of us anticipated just how early in the stage of our business we would be approached by some of the high-profile manufacturers that are using our platform or have expressed a very candid interest in doing so. Like any other business, manufacturers are looking for ways to sell more of their products faster. Many of them know that customer preferences have shifted in the way of self-service experiences that are simple, fast, intuitive, and transparent. The feedback that we've gotten has been that it's harder to compete, partly because business customers are more aware of alternatives and because they're less patient. So yeah. Even while we were at a recent Finovate event, we were approached by an individual who very candidly said, the CEO of our company sent me here to look for a digital platform that could potentially transform our business. We believe that the platform you've built is exactly what we're looking for. We also had a customer, and this is very recently, a customer purchasing a piece of manufacturing equipment, literally said, this is how all lenders should operate. So, comments like that put you at risk of getting a big head. Right. But the reality is that we're extremely thrilled and we're honored to get that type of feedback. And it proves that there's a very real demand for banks, for manufacturers, and for their customers to have a better equipment financing process.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's clear that you've got something here, right? The reception you got from the FinovateSpring audience, the feedback that you're getting from customers all point to, this being a really good solution. We are unfortunately out of time, but I've really appreciated getting kind of some more background behind QuickFi. Again, I've been talking to Nate Gibbons, Chief Experience Officer at QuickFi. Nate, thank you so much for joining me today.
Likewise. Thanks so much, Greg. Always a pleasure.